this issue from two different perspectives. Number one is, even as you stated the numbers of confirmed cases in this country, unfortunately, we've seen a few things that have put our country behind the curve of many other countries who have done far more to protect their people than our country has. We have bureaucracy and red tape getting in the way of preventing the spread of this coronavirus, and the CDC and the FDA, where even they're widening their testing criteria now slightly. But what we've seen over the last several weeks is they had such a narrow standard to where they would allow someone to be tested, and it could only be tested at CDC labs. And it would take days to be able to get the results of that test. That this was the standard, even as the CDC was also telling people that you may be infectious if you have the coronavirus, even with very little to no symptoms at all. So we're stuck as people between a rock and a hard place where we're being told, okay, well, if you're starting to feel a little bit sick, you may or may not test positive for coronavirus. But unless you meet their very narrow criteria, they won't even allow you to get tested in the first place. And then what do you do even if you are able to get tested? Then it takes 4 days before you get the results of that test. Who are you exposed to at that time? If you end up positive, you've already got 4 days of exposure to other people. So this is one example of many where there has been a failure here in the United States that I've been pushing the administration to address. If you're not feeling well, you need to get tested. And those tests can and should be provided with almost instant results. Yeah. If Scotland and South Korea and many other countries can figure out how to test people through drive-in stations so you don't have to get out and expose yourself to anybody else and get those results within minutes, how are we so far behind the curve in the United States of America? We can't figure this out. This comes down to leadership. Whether it's making testing kits available, making sure that we have the resources out there to have information, awareness, basic hygiene training for healthcare workers, first responders, and so forth. We cannot be put in a position where we have to accept what bureaucrats are telling us, that it is inevitable that the coronavirus outbreak will come here, putting at risk the lives of 1 to 5 million Americans. I'm not willing to accept that. And we got to continue to press our leaders to do everything possible to prevent that from happening. Now, one of the things that this is the second angle I want to focus on here that no one else is focusing on is I'm going to be heading back to Washington here in a couple of days where we will be voting on an emergency funding bill to deal with the coronavirus. There's been some, unfortunately, partisan debate around what that number should be. How much money is enough to address the needs of the people? Is it 1 billion, 3 billion, 8 billion? What is the correct number? I want you to think about this. As this bickering is going back and forth in Washington, and we've seen a nickel and diming in the government already saying that they didn't want to test people because they didn't have enough testing kits. The high number that they're talking about is 8 billion. That's 2 months of what we're spending in Afghanistan right now. 2 months. So this puts into context the common refrain that you'll often hear me say, that foreign policy is domestic policy. That you have Democrats and Republicans. That you have Democrats and Republicans in Washington hitting the balls back and forth about what this number should be and nickel and diming the needs, the urgent and pressing needs that people in our country have right now. But nobody really asking the question about, wait, hold on a second. We got $4 billion a month in Afghanistan right now? Every month? Now as we approach our 20th year of having a presence there. Shouldn't those dollars better be used to actually serve and address the needs, especially as we have this crisis that we're facing here at home? Yes. The answer is yes. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Leadership matters. And who you choose to serve as your commander-in-chief will be the difference, will be the change. Because you'll either see someone walking in who lacks that experience and understanding in national security and foreign policy, and therefore then looks to the foreign policy establishment in Washington to say, hey guys, What do I do? What do I do about this situation? Or you can vote for me and have the confidence of knowing that I both bring the experience of having worn these boots for nearly 17 years as a soldier, deploying twice to the Middle East. That personal perspective combined with that focus that I've had in Congress now for over 7 years on foreign policy and national security, bringing this understanding, strength, and foresight that's prepared me to walk in on day one to fulfill that role. Thank you.
Thank you.